Previously on Divorce Court.
I was molested as a child by family members, boyfriends. He just recently admitted to me, like last month, that he has slept with over 9 different women.
What compelled you to confess?
My conscience was bothering me.
Mrs. Griffin, did you revenge cheat?
I cheated on him with his childhood friend.
I understand you did it more than once.
The second time was with his friend, but the first time I got pregnant, and he made me have an abortion.
Divorce Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Lynn Toller presiding.
I'm here again today with Mr. and Mrs. Griffin. We have talked about your marriage of 8 years, that it was in trouble as a function of cheating. We've also talked about your deep history of abuse, foster care. I mean, huge, massive traumas that you've been through. I understand, however, in 2010, life had another curveball for you. Can you tell me what that is?
I was diagnosed with HIV in 2010. Me and my husband got back together and wanted to go get tested.
Mm-hmm.
And I came back positive and him negative. And we remain, he remains negative and I'm undetectable. But
thank goodness.
yes.
So, undetectable in that the viral load is so low that you really can't see it. You know you have it, but your T cell count is good, and you're doing well.
Yes.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Thank
I'm
you.
so glad to hear that. Mr. Griffin, you hung in through that diagnosis, yes?
Yeah.
Was that difficult to do?
Yeah, it was.
How did you tell him, and what did he say?
Well, we found out together. The doctor called. He was standing right there, and we was coming out of court. And I just broke down in court, and he supported me, and he did his best, but I kind of just went downhill. Like life was over. I went into a deep depression, and
How did that manifest itself? What were you doing during that period when you were depressed, and how long did it last?
I would not go outside. I would stop talking to family, friends, everybody. I secluded myself. My room was dark, like when blankets up for years.
You put blankets over the windows?
Yes, ma'am.
For years?
Yes, ma'am.
It was about 2 years.
2 years?
Yeah.
Were you living together at the time?
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you have access to counseling? Did you have anybody to help you?
I did have access to counseling, and I just didn't accept it. I didn't embrace it. Not until recently,
Right.
of this year. And the reason being I didn't embrace it is because my mom was diagnosed with HIV, and my mom passed away in 2007
From AIDS?
complications.
From complications related to it?
Yes. So when I received it, it was
like,
like,
oh.
whoa.
Yeah. Death sentence. That's what it
Yeah.
felt like.
Yes, definitely. And I didn't accept it. I didn't embrace it. I couldn't. And it destroyed me mentally even more in my marriage.
Right. Mr. Griffin, how did you respond to her depression?
I turned to an enabler because even though I didn't want Davetta to sit in complete darkness, I did everything that she said. Like, even though if I knew it wasn't right.
Right.
So she didn't have to get up and leave the room if she didn't want to.
Right, right.
You know, I should have been more stern, but not stern.
No, but I'm not mad. I understand that you probably allowed her to linger more in it, but I'm gonna say this to you: being stern and saying get up and making her go does not change depression. She has to get through depression through counseling. So at least you were kind and loving to her and catered to her while she was in it.
Yeah.
Maybe more forceful about getting her to counseling or embracing counseling,
Yeah.
but being more strict. Well, you didn't do the right thing, but you did the right thing. My understanding is, however, that was not your only response.
No, it wasn't.
What did you do?
I shut down. Sexually, mentally.
Mrs. Griffin, what did he do?
I felt like didn't want to.
I know how you feel. I want to know what you did. You tell me what he did.
He went to Facebook and he put my status on my page, his page, or my family's page, and he just kept harassing me every time I deleted it.
He kept posting it, even though you kept taking it down?
Yes.
Was he posting pictures? What was he saying?
He was saying that B has AIDS, she's dying, me and my son, we're negative. Then he posted his status on Facebook and just...
What were you thinking?
I was wrong for that.
I was wrong for that?
Yeah, okay, the situation was, she said it was one of her friends. I knew the guy, but he was driving my car because she's claimed that she had been drinking too much. So when I walked up to the car, I thought it was her, but it was him behind the steering wheel, and that's why I did it.
You know, it amazes me when people are cheating on people, treating them bad, doing all these things, and get so heavily slighted by one thing that they did, and that the revenge has to be so utter and complete and depleting and horrific for her. Knowing her history, knowing what she's been through, you dragged her online just to hurt her and hurt her and hurt for no other reason than that. You know, sometimes I'm thinking, you know, if you can't do any better than that, just walk off. I don't understand. Having done that, Mrs. Griffin, I understand that there was a lot of backlash that you got, that you were outcast and the community responded badly. So I want to talk to you about the aftermath of what he did.
His family started treating me different. My family, they stopped talking to me, like my family that I did talk to. And it just put me back. I was already coming out of the depression, but it just put me right back in.
Before we get started, I do want to talk about what happened to you after Mr. Griffin made a point of communicating your HIV status to the world in the most negative and derogatory means possible. I do want to introduce Miss Anya Traylor. She is an expert and educates people on HIV, and I brought her here because somebody's got to care. And she's been listening, and she's going to continue to listen, and then we will have Ms. Traylor speak to you for a moment. But tell me what occurred as a function of what he did.
His family started treating me different. My family, I was already a black sheep, but it was like the gossip. They stopped talking to me, like my family that I did talk to. And it just put me back. I was already coming out of the depression, but it just put me right back in on hiding myself.
Have people come around a bit with respect to you, or do you still feel outcast and abandoned?
I still feel outcast and abandoned.
Okay. Ms. Traylor, I'm going to talk to you for a moment. You understand this issue. Why don't you just tell her what she needs to know about outreach and what she can do to best deal with this situation?
Okay. So I've been living with HIV for 8 years now, and when I first found out, I was in what I thought was a committed monogamous relationship. I found out 2 weeks after my diagnosis that I was also pregnant. I was only 23 years old. I had to make a decision on this cannot be the end all for life, but it's up to me to decide how I want to respond to this situation. Living with HIV is something that comes with a lot of responsibility. It comes with a lot of stigma on the outside, but most of the stigma starts from inside. How you treat yourself and how you respect yourself, how you speak, how you treat others is going to be an automatic reflection of everything that you do for your children and anyone that's going to be connected to you. As far as outreach is concerned, I know that you have mentioned that you want to be an advocate. I want to commend you for being public today about your HIV status. That takes a lot. And to have your husband's support is something that many people don't have in any capacity. Some people have nothing. You have your children as well. Outreach is something that can only be done when you are learning or working on healing yourself. And that doesn't just start with your diagnosis. For me, HIV was the icing on the cake. There's nothing else that can happen to me at this point in life. However, if anything else happened, I still have to find a way to keep pushing forward.
Ms. Trilla, let me ask you this. To give her something to walk away with, are there particular agencies or places where she can start to go and reach out so she can get help in her community?
Absolutely. Right in Kansas, there are some Ryan White services available, but I think they are still very far out from where you are. But I am still working on trying to find the right advocates in the area to connect you to those services, where you don't have to go through the process in a way where you're advocating for yourself by yourself.
Thank you so much, Ms. Traylor. I really do appreciate it. The information was fabulous. It was very, very good. Now that we have that, and we're going to make sure that you get in contact with her and are able to follow up on these services, there's one more thing that has happened that continues to complicate your life, and we will talk about that next.
With Jermaine can lust after a woman right in my face, compliment a woman, and I'm looking at him like, okay, what about me? You never compliment me.
So do you fight about you looking at other women?
What would you do if you discovered that your spouse was HIV positive? Tell us what you think at Divorce Court. Divorce Court will be right back.
So, Mrs. Griffin, I understand that baby number 6
Yes.
is on its way.
Yes, ma'am.
How pregnant are you?
2 months.
2 months pregnant. Mr. Griffin, were you happy to hear that?
Yeah. I was happy. You know, I'm getting old, to me. I feel like any chance to have another baby, that's good.
Mr. Griffin, what kind of household do you think will welcome this child? What's the household going to be like?
I hope the child comes to a household that's, we're doing stuff together again, like we used to with the kids.
What is the household like now?
It's better than what it was. It was horrible at first, you know, due to all the fighting and arguing. Now, you know, the kids are in school and stuff, and, you know...
You two are getting along better?
We still argue at least twice a day.
Twice a day? About what?
Whatever, anything. Whatever, if she doesn't like it, then it's gonna be an argument.
What are you arguing about? Money? Babies? What?
It'd be about when we're out in public, Jermaine can lust after a woman right in my face, compliment a woman, and I'm looking at him like, okay, what about me? You never compliment me, and this is...
So do you fight about you looking at other women?
Yeah, a lot.
Mm-hmm. Do you fight about the lack of romance in the marriage?
A lot.
Or not really?
Not really, but when it comes up, it comes up.
It comes up.
Big.
How about money? You fight about money?
Oh, yes, of course.
You think she's trying to be too controlling. You fight about that?
Yes.
What else do you fight about?
How long I'm gone, what time I'm leaving, what time I'm coming back, what time did I turn the TV, what time did I brush my teeth, what time did I put the toothbrush back.
I got you. Mr. and Mrs. Griffin, I want you to remain married. I want you to have a household that welcomes this baby with love and happiness and joy. That will not occur unless a couple of things happen, and I'm gonna start those couple of things with you, Mr. Griffin. You're gonna have to show up Superman. And what Superman does is put his feelings aside and deals with the happiness, welfare, and security of wife and family first. You're honked off about her habit of trying to tell you what to do all the time. and you get mad and you fuss about it. What I'm gonna ask you to do, Superman, is to suck it up. Suck it up because she's had a life that's put her in that position. Suck it up because you caused some of her pain by cheating on her. Suck it up because not only did you cheat on her, but you kept accusing her of cheating on you in order to make you feel better about what you were doing to her. Suck it up because you owe her. Do you understand what I'm telling you here?
Yes, I do.
What'd I just tell you?
Suck it up and be a
There
man.
you go.
Be a man. Be a man, not a mouse.
That's right. You gonna feel some sort of way about her asking you, first thing you say to yourself, yeah, I bought this one. And then you continue to show up, and you show up correctly, and you don't get upset about it, and you don't get mad. Now, in response, when he stops doing that, you kind of take your foot off the gas as easily as you can. So, okay, he's doing all right. I don't have to ask him 9 times a day where he is, just 7. Then go to 6. You know what I mean? But every time she lifts her foot off that pedal, you have to throw open that cape.
Yes.
And that also involves not just sucking things up, you have to do a few things, and I'm gonna talk about those things next.
What would you do if your partner shared your private medical information on social media? Share your opinion on Twitter and Instagram at Divorce Court. Divorce Court will be right back.
I wrote something down on my piece of paper. Still here, still standing, and still caring. And I meant that when I was talking about you. I think it is so fantastic that you could come here today and speak of all that horror and trauma that you've been through. You have absolutely no idea who watches this show and come up to me and said, someone said this on the show, or she was living my life, and now I feel like I'm not alone. Now I know I can stand up even in the face of all this. Now I know it wasn't my fault, and that I can be a survivor, and I appreciate you coming here and doing that. You are a survivor. You survived a great deal. You've managed to bring children in this world, love them and care for them, and remain married and remain with you, and I applaud you. I applaud you for that. I see the tears in your eyes this entire proceeding, and you remain strong, and you remain steady, and you remained here, and I have so much respect for that. Having said that, I want to say this. I like the fact that you have those conversations with your children, and I wish everybody would have those conversations with their children, and also to believe the children when they tell you what they tell you. And don't have the conversation when you think something may be wrong. You should have the conversation, and I'm not saying this to you, I'm just saying this to the public in general, before anything happens at all. It's a parent's obligation to make her child safe. That obligation was not met for you. And I apologize on society's behalf for that one. We didn't do right by you. And I hope the system gets better so we can, but everybody can do individually better what they can do. You know what you're gonna do, Mr. Griffin? You're gonna show her you love her. Every day you're gonna do at least one thing that demonstrates love and care. You're gonna tell her she's pretty, you're gonna buy you some flowers, something. It may sound silly and ridiculous to you, but somebody has to love her. Somebody has to teach her that she's fabulous. Somebody has to teach her that she has great value. You with me?
Yes, I am.
You gonna be grown man about this?
Yes, ma'am. Got it.
Well, if he don't tell you, I'm gonna tell you, you're beautiful, you're kind, you're strong, you're fabulous, and never, ever forget it. Do the best you can, Mr. Griffin. This matter is adjourned.
First of all, I want to compliment you on your strength. I know it was hard. You know, you shared a lot with us today, so I do appreciate that. What's some of the advice that you're going to walk away with today?
There's still time to make our marriage better, to make it a better situation for our kids. And it's not over like I thought it was.